What's going on, guys? Hope you've been feeling the spirit lately. Today I'm going to be sharing one of my top secrets on how you can develop pinpoint accuracy with the traditional bow, rifle, compound, crossbow, doesn't matter. How you can develop pinpoint accuracy shooting anything. Oftentimes you'll hear people talk about pick a spot or aim small, miss small. A lot of people that aim might disregard this out of their shot, or people that shoot more controlled shots might disregard this out of their shot. But I'm here to tell you that this is something that you want your focus to be on. If you want to get down to that micro level of pinpoint accuracy, then you must develop the ability to focus on something so tiny that you can barely see it. And me, I even have astigmatism. I can't see perfect 20/20. I'm just slightly off at like 20/15, so I'm just very slightly nearsighted, and everything can get a little blurry, especially in low light situations for me from farther ranges. So picking that spot is a lot harder, whether it be a coloration or bone structure or shoulder structure or hair color or something like that on a deer or groundhog, rabbit, squirrel, doesn't matter what it is. You need to train your mind to be able to focus down to that micro, almost atom level, to where you can focus on something on a small spot even when there's not a spot. And you might wonder what I mean by that, and maybe how you can develop that. And a lot of the targets that we shoot at, even 3D targets, you shoot them 4 or 5 times, there's a hole there now. You have something to look at. It's not a blank canvas anymore. Same, if you buy a block target, all block targets come with dots. You have a dot to shoot at, you have an outline to shoot at, you have something to shoot at in that target to where you can look at something. But the problem with most dots is most of them are going to be that big around. I shoot the Morel high roller or something like that. It's that dice archery target that you see me shooting. It's got self-healing foam in it, and it's really good. It's taking a lot of arrows, but it has big white dots on it on a red background, and it's really easy to focus on that big white dot rather than find something a lot smaller. And aim small, miss small is probably one of the best pieces of advice anybody could ever give you, because the more micro level that you can focus down to, the better your shooting is going to be. Because if I just focus on the whole target, if I miss by 3 inches, I might miss the whole target because I'm thinking about the whole target rather than thinking about that one small spot. You might be asking, how do you develop such micro precision focus? And a lot of it has to do with how to clear your mind and learn to be good under pressure. And that is deeply a thing of the past nowadays, because people don't have the presence and mindfulness that they did back then, because now we have, a lot of the times, a lot of people can't sit here and watch a video like this that's informative without scrolling to the comments, scrolling on their phone, doing something else, to using this as a background to doing something else, because we have to have something to fill the noise constantly. And if we don't spend time just thinking and being more present and learning to be present and mindful, then we won't be able to focus down to that micro level. You're always going to be worse under pressure, and you're not going to be able to use your brain to that capacity that you can use it to. How can you train it in a shooting way? And the way you can train it in a shooting way is to shoot at a blank canvas. Shoot at something that is the same color and learn to focus it down in to something so small. And a lot of the times, as I'm shooting at a deer target, I try to imagine where the heart is. And I try to imagine where the tubes come off into the top of that heart and go start running up this way throughout to the lungs and through the rest of the body and up to the throat and the brain. Most of the time that sits in a spot, and if you can imagine it, if you learn the anatomy of an animal and learn where that heart is, and you can imagine it and literally see it with your eyes as you go to shoot, you will become a better hunter. You will start to make shots better, because in the heat of the moment you are going to remember that. You're going to remember imagining where that heart is on that animal, and you're going to be into that more, you're going to be more focused down to that micro level of aim rather than the whole heart. You're going to be a lot better at shooting the size of a heart rather than shooting at the size of a heart. Really what you can do is use archery as more of a meditative state, to where you try to control your mind and learn to just focus on to that one little piece. It's almost like if you really want to become as best of an archer as you can, even with a sight reference, even if you're aiming or even if you're shooting a compound, it doesn't really matter. You need to learn to focus down to like the level of the stem of like a clover. And I mean, that's small and it's hard to see stuff like that. But if you can get to where you can tunnel vision in to that one small micro thing, even if you shoot a controlled shot, if you lock that in your subconscious, and your subconscious knows to stay on target with that rather than stay on the target, but rather stay on target, then you're going to become a better shot, because aim small is always, if you aim small, you're always going to miss small. It's so much easier to make a good shot when you're focused down to that micro level than if you just pick a spot and shoot, because a hole in the target might be about that big around, but if you can get your focus down to maybe this big, you're gonna be a better shot. It's a hard road, but if you really want to become that, then you should use archery or shooting as a meditative state and learn to clear your mind and get so focused in on that one tiny little spot that you can't not hit it. And I find myself constantly, being an instinctive shooter, that I let my focus drift wider, and as my focus widens, I start missing big time. And then a lot of the times as I'm missing or I'm shooting bad for a day, I realize I'm not focused in on what I'm trying to hit, and I really need to focus down into that level. And I'll start by picking the discoloration in the target, and then I'll just start burning a hole. And as I shoot a 3D target, I want to imagine where that heart is, and then I want to imagine a vein running through the heart, maybe running through the middle of the heart. Maybe the vein is just a curvy line, or maybe it comes up and it forks, and you just try to imagine where that little fork is in the heart and that vein in the heart. Because as you get down to that such a small level, this group turns into this group. Looking at the whole heart might leave you a group like this. Looking at the middle of the heart might give you a group like this. But imagining that vein and looking at the fork of that vein will bring your groups down to maybe something like that. And it will really help you get down to that micro level of focus. So how do you practice this? A lot of the times just shooting at a blank canvas and learning to just burn a hole into something that's not even there. So right now I've got a cardboard box sitting here, and it has some discoloration or markings on one end of it, but 3/4 of the side of this box is completely empty, and it's all the same color. There's no marks, there's no creases or nothing. There's nothing to pick. So you have to make a spot in your brain. And one thing that helped me focus for a long time was I would start to tell myself in my head as I drew the bow, or before I even drew the bow, but as I was getting ready to take a shot, I would constantly say, there's always a dot, there's always a dot, there's always a dot, there's always a dot. And by saying that in my head materialized it. My imagination materialized a dot on something that didn't even have a dot. And you learn to focus down into that micro level. And now I'm going to step back. I'm only going to shoot at about 10 yards because I just got done. I just left the gym and my muscles are killing me. This was the last workout of my split, and I'm sore all over, and I don't know how these shots are going to go. I'm not going to go back far, but the main focus is finding a dot and hitting it. And I will be completely honest with you from where these arrows hit and to where I was looking. But you almost want to materialize. You want to imagine that there's a dot, and you want to, even if there isn't, materialize it with your eyes and then focus in on it. So I decided to come to this is about 13, 14 yards. It's probably my average shot distance. Clearly you would want them to be right up against the end of the arrow, because then it's so hard to make a bad shot. Realistically, most of the shots that I'm going to end up taking are going to be from that 10 to 20 yard range, just because it's harder to get under 10. It seems to be that sweet spot to where you can still make a really good shot. You can get consistently in that range distance, and that distance of range, to where it seems to be that's the typical shot that you'll end up getting. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to materialize a dot into that target, and then I'll go down there, I'll show you where the arrow impacted, and I'll show you where I materialized that dot. And I shot about 5 inches high. As you can see, my focus isn't in there. No cutting out the misses. You need to see this, because you have to know that it's possible for everybody to attain that level of accuracy. It just takes practice over time. And you have to understand, you're not going to come out and be able to do this immediately. Everything that I teach you it might help you instantly, but to get to that 100% increase in accuracy, you have to practice it. So let's try it again. Right through the box, let's go look at it. As you can see here, that's where I hit. And by looking at it, I could sit there and tell you that that's where I was looking. However, it's not. I materialized in my vision. I materialized a dot right there. So how far am I off? 3 inches? 3-4 inches? So 3-4 inches high and left of where I was looking. But see, now there's going to be a hole here, but I can keep looking somewhere around in here and materializing that dot in my mind and get down to that focus level and make a better shot. Well, about the time I hit the record button, the train decided to roll through. So now that the train's gone, we're going to try this again. So I hit pretty much the same place, just more to the right, which put me straight above where I was looking. And just because I was off, I'll shoot one more time. But I am finding it pretty difficult to shoot. My muscles aren't cooperating. They're not warmed up holding this bow back. And I hit pretty much the same spot. So about 3 inches high. I'll take a few more shots just to kind of warm everything up, and then because I really want to show you that it's possible to materialize something on this, to make something out of nothing, and be able to make that shot really count. I took about 3 shots there to see if I could get warmed up, and it's pretty difficult. My sway or my float once I get back, drawn back as like this. I'm struggling so hard to keep the bow out. The show must go on, and I'm going to use this as being able to control it and trying to use my mind, become more present and more mindful so that I can defeat that and hold it still and make the shot count. This will be the last shot that I'm taking. Let's see how I do. So I was just barely low of where I was looking, and I hit into the top of the target, but it was closer than all the other shots that I've taken. As you can see, I was just barely under where I wanted to hit with where I was looking being like right in here. So it was closer than that one. So to wrap this video up, you could see that I was just barely low of where I was looking. You're just gonna have those days that you're just not gonna shoot the best. And I could call it wraps and come out here and do it later or do it tomorrow, or sit here and shoot till I have that perfect one. But the authenticity is what matters. There's no point in lying if I'm trying to teach you something. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to make you a better shot. And that authenticity is so much more important than making that one perfect shot and editing all the rest of them out. In all, to wrap up and sum everything up, all you really need to do is learn to be more mindful, learn to focus, learn to be more present, make shooting your bow a meditation, learn to imagine things and see them through your eyes. Remember that there's always a dot. There's always something that you can look at. Even if you have to make it, there's always something to look at. And Ted Nugent used to talk about all the time, putting a piece of tape behind the shoulder of the 3D targets that he had, so that whenever he was in the field going to shoot at animals, he would see the orange tape. And he was also an instinctive shooter. He just shot an Oneida lever action bow. I hope this helps. It should help. It's really that underlying factor that nobody really talks about in making you a better shot, is how small you can get that focus down whenever you're picking your spot of aim. If your spot of aim is the whole entire lungs of a deer, then yes, it seems like a big target and easy to hit, but if you're only focused on the lung area, you can miss very easily. But if you get so tight as down to a vein that runs over top of the heart and overlaps into the lungs and trying to hit the very top of that hump, then you might miss by this much, but you're either going to be down in the heart or you're going to be up right through the middle of the lungs. So it'll make you a better bow hunter as well. And if you get used to doing that, then it just happens naturally in the heat of the moment, because your subconscious will take over. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment. It helps the channel out tremendously. If you want to pick up a t-shirt, the link is in the description. If you want any suggestions on products that I use or would suggest, I have the Amazon affiliate links in the description that you can go click on, and that helps the channel out. And hunting season's getting pretty close. It kind of feels like a fall evening tonight, so I'm getting pretty excited and getting pretty ready to get pretty amped up to go and try to get one. So other than that, thank you Lord for a beautiful day. Appreciate you guys watching. It means the world. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Keep on feeling the spirit.